I would never take down your gardening dreams because I have them too. Hello there and welcome to another Greenhouse Chat. Greenhouse Chats have been so wonderful to get us through the colder months of the year because we've been talking about some very real stuff that pertains to our gardening life. Today is no different. Today's gardening chat is bigger garden, bigger problems. What to consider before expanding. If you feel like you're ready to grow your gardens in a major way, let's dive into all the things that means, the good and the bad. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B, and I am in southeastern North Carolina. Before we dive right into our conversation, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you do like the kind of content I provide, and also follow me on social media because that's where I post things in a much more timely fashion, and I get to show off some beautiful flowers as well. So today we are talking about something that almost every gardener dreams of: expanding our gardens. But before you start going out and digging up brand new flower beds or adding additional square footage, let's talk about the things that go along with having a much bigger garden. Is it actually a great idea, or are you signing up for more stress than you imagine? Let's break it down. This is when we get real, because we talk about gardening bringing us joy and having health benefits and reducing our stress, and that is all true. But we also talk about things where we're tired, we're overwhelmed, we don't know what to do first. Sometimes our busy schedules become a hindrance for us. So let's talk about all of that stuff and more. The dream versus the reality. We have all been there where we're standing in our gardens and we think, oh, if I just had a little bit more garden space, if I just had a section for these new flowers, more veggies, maybe a new greenhouse, maybe an arbor covered in beautiful flowering vines, all sorts of things. It sounds amazing, right? But here's the thing. A bigger garden can mean more joy, but it can also mean more work, more stress, more care that you have to give. And are we ready for that? Things that we want to keep in mind: more weeding, more watering, more planning to make sure our garden looks cohesive, that our design is right, more potential money that we're outlaying for the new things that we want, be it decor or flowers or whatever. So having a bigger garden means more of everything, the good and the bad. Okay, so let's talk about time. Do you actually have the time to dedicate to having a bigger garden? We recently talked about how to garden when we are busy people. Some of us have other full-time jobs, not just working in the garden and that sort of thing, our children, our spouses. How do we juggle it all? How do we handle it all? And if we create a bigger garden for ourselves, will we successfully be able to handle that? Or will ultimately it make us feel more like we're failing because we can't keep up with the new flowers we bought or the new veggies we planted, etc.? So we want to think about our state of overwhelmness, and something we talk about all the time with my favorite quote. I'll just say it quickly because I always say it. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. That quote I say all the time to remind us not to be overwhelmed in our gardening journey, to not take on too much at one time. Bigger can mean better, but bigger can also mean more overwhelmed. So think about that when you're thinking about how much time you have to dedicate to gardening. Oh my goodness, this next idea is so real, and let's question ourselves on it. Are we trying to expand our gardens for joy or for some sort of pressure, usually a social pressure? It could mean keeping up with somebody in your neighborhood, or it could mean seeing the most gorgeous, sprawling gardens online, be it YouTube or Instagram or whatever, Pinterest. Sometimes we see these things and we think, okay, that's what I really want. I won't be a real gardener until I have X. You know, again, an arbor, maybe with climbing roses and all this gorgeousness that some people have. It's great to want things if you want them for you, but just make sure that's what you're actually after and that you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses here in creating a bigger space that, again, ultimately you have to pay for, you have to care for, and if something goes wrong, that's all on you too. I do know the feeling of watching another gardener online and seeing like their gorgeous property. Maybe they have multiple acres and I sit here on my half acre and I think, oh, maybe now I really wish that I could expand my landscape. I have more property that I can work on all the time. But at the end of the day, I have to ground myself and remind myself a half acre is what I have. This is what I am blessed to have. And I am blessed to make this space as beautiful as I possibly can. I have enough time to work on the property that I have and the gardens that I have on it. I don't need to go comparing myself to somebody who has a much bigger yard than I have. I don't know what kind of help they have. I don't know if they get professional help either. So really be kind to yourself, be fair to yourself, and really consider the reasons for expanding. Is it for you? Oh my goodness. The next idea is also big because it's talking about burnout. Again, those of us that have these busy lives, or maybe we are retired and gardening is just our love and our passion or the main work that we do. Nevertheless, putting in too much, be it too much physical labor or too much time, more than we intended to, can lead us to burnout. And that is not a fun or attractive place to be. The more you add to your garden, the more mental and physical energy that garden takes to maintain. Sometimes a smaller, well taken care of, well manicured, well looked after garden space is a lot better for you than a bigger, unfinished, undone garden space. Many gardeners burn out when they expand too quickly and they end up resenting the new space that they created. It is okay, more than okay, to go slow and do this little by little so the expansion feels real and natural and manageable. Also, let's not think about the gardeners that we are right now gearing up for spring, which is arguably the most exciting time in the garden, period. Let's think of ourselves mid-season, when we are feeling overwhelmed or a little tired, or goodness gracious, it's gotten so hot that we don't feel like working in the yard. Think about that gardener. And are you doing that gardener any favors by expanding to a point that is hard to keep up with? The financial side of gardening is also real. We talk all the time on this channel about gardening on a budget, all the ways that we can save money gardening, and if we are expanding our gardens, how we can do it as frugally as possible and still make everything gorgeous, which is awesome. But let's be honest, a bigger garden means more money. It's more money potentially in plants or soil or mulch or compost or fertilizer or watering. Like the list just goes on. And are we going to be satisfied if we have a garden that, let's say, has no garden decor in it, or no little bit of ourselves and our personality? If we can't purchase little extra things to go inside of our gardens, maybe it's birdhouses that we love or hummingbird feeders or who knows what. If you can't spend the money or the financial burden becomes too great, once again, you really haven't done yourself any favors. The bottom line on the expense part is that gardening really isn't just a one-time expense. You're not just outlaying the money once and you're done forever. It's an ongoing process. So even if you don't have to purchase the plants year after year, my goodness gracious, I really hope we don't have to do that. Again, it's the upkeep and the maintenance and all the other things. So just keep it in mind. Maybe it will work for you and maybe you can expand so budget friendly that it won't make a difference. It's just simply something to consider. So at the end of the day, one of the most important points is to not overwhelm yourself as a gardener. We love what we do, which is why we do it. We love the process. We enjoy having our hands in the dirt, all the things. Even going to the garden center and looking through the flowers, all the things that go into gardening is what makes it such an awesome, more than hobby. We all know it's more than a hobby. Some tips to not overwhelm yourself. Again, expand in small sections. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. So start with a small new garden or a small new garden area. Maybe it's a small vegetable garden. Maybe you want to start by expanding with a container garden, because sometimes in certain environments, a container garden would be easier for you to maintain. Maybe it could be closer to your house so you don't have to go so far out into the yard and you could just work on it a little bit before you head out to work that day or something like that. So start small, expand small, and Maybe test a new area before you fully commit. Maybe you think of a certain type of garden that you want to create. Maybe it's a succulent garden or a tropical garden, and you think you're going all in and you just want to buy all the plants and do all the things. That is a great way to get overwhelmed. So maybe start slow. Test the waters if you're doing a succulent garden with some easier things like hens and chicks. They won't necessarily break the bank if you start there. They will grow and expand on their own, which is also very helpful, that sort of thing. Another thing just to keep yourself in check is think about who is going to be maintaining your garden? Who's going to be weeding and watering? Do you have extra help? Can your kids help you out? All that sort of thing. Who will be doing the maintenance? And maybe we can choose low maintenance plants. That's one of my goals all the time, is to choose as low of maintenance of plants as possible, because I just don't want fussy plants in my garden anyway, but especially if I'm expanding my landscape and I'm going to have more area to look after, I don't want to have to worry about a plant that requires too much pest control or too much deadheading or anything like that. So our final thoughts here on this: is bigger necessarily better? The answer is probably no. But again, I would never take down your gardening dreams, because I have them too. I know I want to expand. I know I want to try new things. I will never be done selecting new plants for a new year and that sort of thing. Just keep yourself in check again, so you don't get overwhelmed, you don't get burnt out, and you have time to enjoy the space that you're creating and not just time to work in it all the live long day. Thank you guys for watching and joining me for yet another greenhouse chat. We are nearly done with these as the colder months are coming to a close, and here I am out in short sleeves yet again. I appreciate the support and all of the wonderful feedback I've been getting. The comments are outstanding, because I know that these greenhouse chats are touching our hearts. Until next time, you guys, happy planting.